Howdy ho, you handsome hunk. Grab a snack and gain some chunk. If your day is great or really sunk, we hope to help you shake the funk. So if you're good to hear some junk, buckle up, it's the Junk Monk Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Junk Monk Podcast. I'm your host Kandyce Sloan, who you know from Instagram at Hardens and Hardhats.
And I'm Noah, your co-host, who you know from Right Now.
If this is your first time listening, let us fill you in. We are watching and reviewing every episode of the USA hit TV show Monk right here each week.
And we're going to do so eating a little bit of junk. So I've got my junk food here, Kandyce, which is sprinkles. Which you might be like, sprinkles? Here's some ASMR for everyone.
I like that.
I don't know. I was like, sprinkles are fun. And I also have a question. What is inside sprinkles?
I think it's just pure sugar. I would think yes. You're only allowed to have how many a day?
4.
Oh.
Here, I'll eat my 4 right now.
Well, you're supposed to take a shot, right?
Oh, yeah, I can take a shot.
He pours them into the lid and then takes a shot of little tiny beads.
Little tiny. They're like actually really smaller than regular sprinkles. They're in my shot glass. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Frankenstein. It's monster.
I'll take another one at junk time.
Okay, I have these fried pork rinds, which they say fried pork curlicues. I don't know what that means. But I've had them in the pantry for quite some time, so hopefully they're still good. Also, you must know, I've seen every episode of Monk. I'm a huge fan, started watching in 2007, and for the most part, watched it as it aired.
I've seen season 1 and those we've done on the show, and a few scattered here and there in different seasons.
So, if you're ready to start the show, Toby, take it away.
Here's what happened.
All right, this is Mr. Monk is on the Run, part 1. So here's what happened. In the opening scene, we see Natalie and Mr. Monk being called into the scene of a robbery where the captain informs him of some disturbing news related to Trudy's case. The infamous six-fingered man who manufactured the bomb that killed Trudy was the main suspect in the robbery. He had also left a cryptic note at the scene, which Mr. Monk later deciphers and then decides to follow up with it on his own. The note leads him to an address in Angel, California, where he surprisingly comes face to face with the six-fingered foe. They exchange words leading to an all-out fight to the death in which the six-finger man would lose when Mr. Monk's gun shoots and kills him instantly. Adrian is shocked and confused only to be arrested moments later. Charged with murder, his bail is set at an even million, forcing him to escape during his prison transport. He confides in Natalie and makes his way to investigate the scene of the crime. He realizes that there was someone else there that night, standing behind him, who fired the fatal shot. It was Sheriff Rollins, the arresting officer. He had snuck into Adrian's apartment, switched the barrels of Monk's gun with his own, lured Monk to that address, and set the six-finger man up to be murdered. Monk reaches out to the captain for help, but with no proof, they are both at a loss. Stottlemyre tells Rollins of their interaction and says they plan to meet that evening. When they do, Adrian becomes suspicious that Leland is not alone and pulls his gun, but the captain fires first, putting 2 shots into Monk, sending him sailing into the ocean below.
Interesting.
So that was Mr. Monk is on the Run, part 1.
Candyce, I have one question for you. So what did you like about this episode?
Okay, I put Noah's titles. Okay, so because we were watching it, right?
That's a dislike of mine, actually.
And I was...
Oh, no, I know.
I wouldn't let Noah look at the title of the episode because I didn't want him to know that Mr. Monk was, in fact, on the run. I also didn't want him to know that it was a part 1 of a part 2 episode. Mm-hmm. So we agreed like, okay, don't look at the screen until I tell you. And then it was clear. I was like, okay. And so he starts guessing. He's like, Mr. Monk and the bus.
Because he gets on a bus. He
gets on a bus. I'm like, Mr. Monk solves Trudy's case. I was like, okay, someone is reaching.
And I said, Mr. Monk kills a man.
Yep.
Okay. So mine is, were you drinking this? It's 4 whole ounces lighter.
That's pretty good. I think I put that too, that clue is so in your face.
Yeah.
And it's so like, why would you ever think that has anything to do with the crime? And you're just like, Natalie, did you drink this? And she's like, no. And then she blows it off like, where you think like, oh, she totally drank it.
But...
Or she's like, no. And then she's like, Mr. Monk, are you okay about the dream? And then she comforts him, which is really, really sweet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's like, it leaves you either way, I think. Like, you can think that, like, oh, she totally drank it, but she wouldn't do that to Mr. Monk. So, like, maybe he is upset about the dream and he's just, like, picking apart things to, like, hallucinate about or something. So, yeah, I like that. I also like the whole scene that includes that, which is the elegant clue, right? Because we know, hi, Conrad, this was the clue he was talking about. Mm-hmm. Whenever Natalie writes on the board, to force heaven, Mars shall have a new...
Angel,
yeah. That was, like, one of his favorite clues, because he said he liked the elegant clues. I was like, oh... Because he didn't remember which episode it was. I didn't either. I did not realize it was so close. So that was cool that we saw that. And I put elegant clue and elegant scene where Natalie is trying to help solve the case. I love that. I love that she is up there just trying to decipher this code. She bought a book. Mm-hmm. And then Monk's like, oh, you bought a book. Which is reminiscent of Mr. Monk Goes to Vegas. Whenever Randy's like, what? I got a book, how to play poker. And she's like, oh, you have a book, so now you can't lose. And he's like, exactly. It did remind me of that, so I thought that was funny. But yeah, the whole scene I felt was very elegant, how she's trying to solve the case and then also comforts him about his nightmare. In the end, it was very sweet.
Yeah. Something I liked is that there's not a lot to say about this episode. Because I was watching it and I was trying so hard to take notes while watching, but I just could not. Mm-hmm. I was so invested into the story and was like, okay, I could write that down, and I'm like, wait, but what's happening now? And I'm turning the fact that I have barely any notes into a note of itself. But
that's some skill.
There's, like, not a lot to say about this episode other than just go watch it.
Yeah, I had to watch it again because it was one of those episodes where, like, well, I mean, most of the episodes I don't know scene for scene. Like, I haven't seen Monk that many times where I know, like, oh, this next scene is funny. This next scene is funny. Uh-huh. I don't know what scene's coming next. So when I'm writing notes, I actually do have to pay attention to what's going on. I can't just like, oh, yeah, that's this part and jot it down. Uh-huh. But yeah, I definitely had to watch it twice in order to get half this stuff down. But I obviously love when Monk ups his bail to an even million.
Oh,
yes. It's so funny. Like, which... Do they set bail at $900,000?
No.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I feel like it's like $500,000, like $500,000 or $750,000, and then the judge just puts it at $900,000, which is cute, you know. Yeah. But it's like, is that realistic? I mean, kind of a plot hole, but yeah.
And then also, it was cute. All of them are like, I can sell my car, and like sacrificing things for Monk.
Yes.
It was so cute, and he was like, I'll be fine, and then took Natalie's key. Oh my gosh, I'm remembering it. He took Natalie's key and was all savage mode. Took Natalie's key, put it in the door, jumped out of the car, the moving car, and then escaped without a trail. Oh, he's a genius. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is such a good episode because if you're wondering, like, what would Monk do if he was a criminal? Because he's so smart. It's that. Mm-hmm. Ugh, he's a genius.
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack with all the stuff you said. So, of course, the bail thing. Whenever he leans over to his counsel and he's like, whisper, whisper, whisper. Mm. He's like, with the court's request, could we bump up the bail to an even million? And Stottlemeier's like, oh my God. That's really good. Okay, and then next, of course, like you said, we see Monk saying, well, can I at least say goodbye? And then Sheriff Rollins, like a dodo, is like, sure. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then, but it's so sad because you don't know. Yeah. And Natalie's so, oh my gosh, that was heart-wrenching.
I was like,
oh, she's like, I'm just like, Mr. Rollins. Because she also knew, because, you know, before they were explaining, like, yeah, that doesn't look good. The shots came from his gun. Yeah, that doesn't look good either. You know, he was obsessed with the victim. Yeah, that doesn't look good either. And then after they leave the courtroom, Randy's like, yeah, it's kind of funny. This is kind of the case that Monk would normally solve. Well, I mean, like, not like haha funny, more like not funny at all funny. It's like, it was a great joke, and it was a well-timed joke, and it was a good one. And it was like a heartfelt, sad joke.
Yeah.
I really liked that joke. But yeah, their saying goodbye was heart-wrenching. But they maybe could have dragged that out a little bit more. because like instantly you see his like the key card, you know.
Yeah.
So like I could have used like a little bit more of like heartstring pulling, but
No,
it was so
he
good.
didn't. No, because he got in the car and then it's like he pulls it out.
No, they're walking outside of the court.
Oh, and then
she goes, "Where's my pass?" As soon as they stop hugging, he walks off and she goes, "Where's my pass?" And it shows him go, "Foop," and pull it out. It was like 2 seconds later, yeah. So I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
I actually really like how they did that.
But Monk said, "Don't worry about me,"
Yeah.
and that's what he meant.
Yeah,
and that was good.
It was so good.
That was really good.
He's like, no, oh my god.
And then when he's in the truck, you hear the officers, Sheriff Rollins and the other guy talking about, you know, he's like, "Oh, I feel sick." He's like, "Oh, I can't take sick days." And he's like, "You know how many sick days I've taken in the past 10 years? 0. All I do is drink juice all the time. Cranberry juice, apple juice, orange juice."
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Another in-your-face clue, right? And all this is while Monk is trying to get out, and then you see the blankness behind him, and he like kind of glances and he's like, "Wait, what the heck?"
Yeah.
And turns around and the doors are open, and you're like, they literally did that clue to set up.
Oh, that's genius.
Isn't that amazing?
That was so good.
That was so good.
Oh my gosh. I love how they can't smell Monk. They put the canine dogs on his scent, and they're looking for him, or they try to look for him, and they're like, they can't get a scent, and they're like, we've never heard of it, a human without a scent.
And then
genius.
finally the dogs catch a scent of him, which makes sense because he's continuing to run, so he's probably creating like an odor or something.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it looks like he's almost touching every single tree, which
Because the
he's
dogs are like
touching them and he's poking them, but they think he's like injured because if you had gotten shot, you would need to like hold on to something. So they think he's like hobbling from. They're like, check all the hospitals, and I'm like, didn't get him that time. He's just touching trees. I have Captain Tiger.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I put, "Look at you." With a little heart. He looked dang good in that uniform. He looked spiffy. I'm surprised they didn't show a whole scene of Natalie swooning over him.
I know.
Golly.
I put Monk kill somebody at the very beginning of my notes. I was like, oh, Monk kill someone. And then at the end I put Monk didn't kill someone.
Maybe not. Like you said, we don't know.
I think I'm going to make my prediction right here, right now.
Wait, hang on. No, I was going to ask you that in drunk time. Okay. So also I have Noah's "nobody believes Monk" narrative came back to bite him.
I know.
Because you kept talking about
they all believed him.
You believed him. And never like that he didn't shoot him. But you were all over it. Like, oh man.
The one time.
No. Why does nobody ever believe Monk? He said he shot to shoot him. And of course he didn't shoot him. And now Noah's like, he definitely shot him. In his notes, Monk killed someone. Even though he says he didn't. But to be fair, I did put Natalie almost fell for it too. Which was a really great scene whenever he comes back and, confides in her and shows up at her house. And he's like, "Okay, Natalie, I just need to cut these chains off of me." And she's like, maybe we should call the captain.
She's like hesitating, yeah.
And he's like, "Wait, no, we can't. Like, that's his job. He would have to take me in. That's why I came to you." And she's like, yeah, of course I believe you. Of course I believe you. It's like, ooh, that seed of doubt. But, it hurts. But also, it took her like half a second to come back. So I gave her points on that.
Yeah. And when Randy's in her house and he's like, yeah, they made me come over here because they thought Monk was stupid enough to come to your house. And Monk's like hiding behind the curtains.
And then he's like,
yeah, he touches
the lamp.
While Randy's talking in the background. This is like Monk's entire like life on the line here. And
so funny. Oh, I love that. Basically, like, all the scenes were epic. Is what I loved about it. You have the first scene where you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on with Trudy? Like, what's going on with this case? And that's the Six-Finger Man, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then about 2 scenes later, we see Monk going to confront the Six-Fingered Man. Then we see Monk being arrested. and then we see his bail set. We see him escape, and then we see the whole chase scene where he's running and they're chasing the dogs after him, and then we see him hiding at Natalie's house, and it's so suspenseful. And then we see him you're calling the captain and telling him everything that happened, and then we see him meeting the captain, and then he gets shot. Every single scene was on fire. Yeah. It was so good. Every scene was epic, and every scene was suspenseful, and man, it was good. Yeah. Do you have anything else? Because I do have one more thing.
I have one more thing as well. Okay. The blender. The blender. So Natalie is trying to cover for Monk, and she's like, okay, let me get the power tools from upstairs so that way I can break you out of your chains. And she comes back, and Monk isn't there, and Randy's there because Monk saw Randy coming, so he had to hide. And she's like, oh, hi. And he's like, what are you doing with the suit?
No, she says, do you want to take a bath?
She says, do you want to take a bath? And he's like, what?
No thanks. And then she walks in, she's like, oh, crap. And he's like, oh, do you greet all your guests this way? I'm surprised you're not more popular.
Okay, and then she's like, oh, yeah, I have this uniform because I was giving it away to the Salvation Army, which was smart. Yeah. Right? And then she completely screwed it all up by going, oh, and the power tool, my blender broke, so I was just going to use it for that, which, Natalie, I'm usually on your side for these kinds of things, but are you kidding me? Your blender broke. And I was like, oh, okay, so she's going to, like, fix the blender. No, she was like, okay, I'm going to use, instead of using the blender blades, I'm going to use the actual screw thing, it made no sense.
I totally get what you're saying, and I literally never interpreted that way, that when she says, my blender broke, that she could have totally just acted like she was going to fix the blender, but instead she decided to make a smoothie and then use the tool to make it.
And it's like black, and she's like, oh, it's the oil, and it's good for like digestive or something. Yeah. It was nasty.
It's so funny. So my last thing, of course, is mother of all terrible Natalie schemes. Power drill to make a smoothie. Loved it though.
It was so funny. It was bad, but it was good.
And that's the ironic thing is because I always put terrible Natalie schemes in dislikes. Mm-hmm. But this one was just drawn out mixed and good and funny. And then she makes it. She puts all this stuff in there. And then he's like, what is that? She's like, oh, it's just oil. Or is that oil? And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, takes a sip and she's like, yeah, it's just what I needed.
She just puts it down and doesn't know. You want some?
Did you notice that Randy drank it when she left? No. Yeah. I didn't notice it the first time. When she goes to the bathroom to give Monk the uniform, Randy picks it up and he sips it and he kind of like looks and then he's like, and starts drinking it. Yeah. That's the thing you catch on the second time around. Oh I was like, what? That's Randy so likes it? Oh. That was so funny. But yeah.
Okay, Candace, what did you dislike about this episode?
Oh, I put, what a terrible dream. Monk has the nightmare about Trudy, and he sees her getting into the car.
You didn't let me watch any of it.
I know, because it had the title. Oh, I told you could watch it again, but...
Yeah, I know, but still. I could see it in the corners. You could see
a little bit, yeah.
And it looked bad. It was like fiery and...
Because he's, like, in a parking garage, and you think that he's, like, going to investigate, like, her murder again or something. So, that's what I thought. Mm-hmm. I was, like, telling you, like, oh, he's in a parking garage. Wait, and there's Trudy. And then you were kind of saying, like, oh, I can see it a little bit over your shoulder. But she's, like, getting in the car and about to start it. And he's like, no, yelling. Trudy, no. And he's running in place. And then, when she explodes. And then, whenever it comes back to him laying in bed, they have the fire. Did you see that part? No. They had the fire, like, it looked like it was in his room. And he's, like, his eyes, like, open, and you can still see the flames. And then it goes, doom, and, like, shuts off. And then you can tell he's in a dream. Like he was dreaming. It was really good. You should probably watch it.
I'm gonna watch it now. Give me a sec. Let me pull up Amazon. Like, honestly. That was epic.
That's pretty good, right?
That was awesome.
That takes, like, all the CGI moments they've ever had and, like, blows them out of the water and, like, makes up for all of them. Was that not really good? Like, awesome. The explosion, I mean, you didn't really see the explosion, but that fire that's, like, in his apartment, it makes you, like, think his house is on fire.
Like, oh my gosh.
That was good, right? But anyway, what a terrible dream to have.
That was... yeah. Oh, jeez.
Cool effects, though.
Cool effects. Dislike. Kandyce didn't let me see the title. Why would they name the title Part 1? I mean, I guess it makes sense that they would do that. But at the same time, no.
Because I think, what was it? Maybe like over halfway through, you were like, is this a season finale? And I was like,
yeah, and then I was, and you were like, no, there's one more after this. And I was like, that's weird. Because I was like, this is really good.
Well, I was like, oh, this is episode 15 out of 16. That was the whole reason that I didn't want to say anything, but then I was like, well, he's asking me a point blank question, so I guess I have to say something.
It'd be really sketchy if you were like, no, this is the season finale.
But yeah, I put Monk Goes Rogue. Mm-hmm. Right? These are, you know me, these are the moments where I'm like, Monk, like, this whole thing could have been avoided. Like, especially if your theory is right about he lured you there, then if you had taken Stottlemyre or Randy or even Natalie, this wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. And everything, like, seems to always go wrong whenever he goes rogue like that. And it's like, if you just stick to your scruples, Mr. Monk, bad things don't happen. And if they do, you at least were doing the right thing whenever something bad did happen. So
I like it because it adds to the motive a little of like them condemning him. Like, he went there on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He knew that he didn't want to take any of you because he was going there to kill him. Mm-hmm. So
yep. Great point, Noah.
Yeah.
Great point.
I know.
I also put Noah's final title was whenever he gets, I guess this was whenever he goes without them and he shows up in the warehouse and he comes like face to face with the six-fingered man. You were like, Mr. Monk becomes a psychopath.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm writing that one down too.
Yeah. I didn't like how he went by himself, like you said, but also how he even endangered himself a little bit whenever he was like, he had the gun, but then he runs after the dude. He's like, you have the money, and then Monk just steps into the light, and he's like, you're not who I know, and then Monk just tackles him. And I was like, yeah, cool, but at the same time, this guy probably has a gun too.
Yeah.
So you probably should have just shot him point blank.
Oh.
No, I mean, if he was gonna tackle him anyways, and make it seem like you wanted to, like, harm him.
Yeah, because, I guess your point, because I thought of this, Monk definitely attacked him first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought of that. It was, because I was thinking, well, it was self-defense. It totally wasn't self-defense, because he actually attacked the six-finger man first, and then he had the gun pointed at him, and because didn't the six-finger man just have a knife? Or did he even have anything?
No, I think he had a knife.
Oh, I remember the reason that he does tackle him, because he sees, he puts up his hand and he sees the six fingers. Oh. And then so Monk is like pissed. Yeah. And he's like, you're the cop with the wife. And then he tackles him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he knew who he was. So then he goes after him.
It wasn't like, oh, you happen to have six fingers. You're like, you're the cop with the wife.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, yeah, he did shoot him. But then Monk could have been like, he's the dude who killed my wife and probably loves it. He had a confession. He was like, I do jobs. I don't know who sends me.
Yeah. Dang.
So Monk could have just been like, he killed a bunch of people. And I don't know. Oh my gosh. Also, they didn't bring up the fact that he blacks out. Stottlemyre wasn't like, yeah, but you black out sometimes. They were like, oh no, we believe you.
Yeah. Which
before Stottlemyre's been like, like whenever he killed Santa Claus. He was like, no, you definitely killed that dude. Like, you blacked out.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I know you black out sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially whenever it's the 10-year anniversary of you and Trudy.
Yeah.
Not whenever you actually come face to face with Trudy's killer. That wouldn't lead you to black out at all.
Right? My next dislike is, do people like, you know that guy who was sleeping and Monk tried to steal his car? at the gas station. Do people do that? I don't think...
Like self-service things? Okay, so, like, this is my understanding of it.
I don't know how it works.
This is my understanding of it, because I'm not really old enough to actually know, but...
You're not old?
Dude, I'm like 10 years older than you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But still,
That's
a lot of time. I'm like 10 years old myself, so...
That's definitely true. No, but I believe gas stations used to be... There was a gas attendant and that they pumped your car for you at the gas station. So if I'm not mistaken, they still do that somewhere, like in the boonies, or I mean, I live kind of in the boonies, but not super, super, super. Like maybe there's like a gas station that still has attendants that will pump your gas for you. That's the guy who was sitting out there. I'm pretty sure, to get gas. He wasn't like a convenience store worker where he works behind the counter. He was sitting outside to pump people's gas.
I thought he just like didn't want to sleep in his car.
No, I think he was the gas station attendant.
So he kept his car next to
the gas pump?
Yeah.
Wasn't it parked at the gas pump?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he would do that.
And then he just didn't.
And put a lock in his car. The steering wheel lock? Yeah, I don't know.
People also don't do that.
Okay, this is a really small line, super random, but I was like, wait a second, what? So, this is when Natalie and Randy are in the house, and he says, what are you doing with that power drill? Oh, well, what are you doing with Mitch's uniform? And she says, oh, well, I was just going to donate to the Salvation Army. You know, I figured it was time to move on.
I like that one.
And Randy says, yeah, I've been saying that for 3 years, but okay.
Rude.
No.
Wait, what?
He's been telling Natalie for 3 years that she should move on from Mitch. As in what? Like, you should date me? Or...
I thought he said, you've been saying that for 3 years.
No, I watched it again and he said, I've. Because I thought he said...
weirdo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's weird.
He's like, I've been saying that for 3 years, but... And so I was like,
gosh.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Weird Randy.
That was just a really weird Randy line. I guess they were just trying to add something in there to make it seem like this is a weird time for you to be doing that right this second, because I've been suggesting that for a long time, but it just wasn't a good thing to imply. Unless they were trying to imply that he liked her in that way. I don't know. Gosh, I just thought it was a weird thing to say.
That's like gross. I've been saying that you should get over your dead husband for, like, if Natalie was like, just get over Trudy, Monk. Like, what?
Which Stottlemyre has done before, but for utter plot convenience. But other than that, he's like, I get it now.
Yeah.
Never throw away that watch. So, yeah. But my last thing is, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, I put possibly a plot hole, but my plot hole section is pretty full, so I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Yeah. So, this is the very first scene where Monk walks up and Stottlemyre says, you know, we called Dr. Kroger. You might not want to go in there and you might not want to know what's going on. And he's like, well, is it a murder? Like, what's going on? He's like, well, it's not a murder. It's a robbery. So this piece of information, all that he was, not saying it wasn't a big deal, but all that he was hiding from him was, look, the six-fingered man is the suspect in this. He's buying another bomb. You know, that this is the information. You might want to hear it. You might not want to hear it. And he's like, Monk says, okay. And he walks off and he doesn't want to hear it. And then Natalie's like, Mr. Monk, we have to hear it. Okay, so 2 things. For one, Stottlemyre wasn't going to make Monk hear about the six-fingered man. Yeah. That's what this whole show's about, buddy. Get on board. He's trying to figure out.
The director wants you to tell us.
Exactly. The fans want you to tell Mr. Monk about the six-fingered man. So why was there ever an out? Well, you know, you don't have to hear this information if you don't want to. It's about Trudy. Then Natalie, so my beef with Stotty, then my beef with Natalie is, and Natalie has no clue what this is about. It could be the most devastating thing on the planet. Trudy could be coming back to life in there, and she's like, Mr. Monk, we have to see.
Yeah.
For her own amusement.
Yeah, like, actually, you're the one who planted the bomb, Monk. Like, but we have to see. Like, what?
Your brother Ambrose is in there. He killed Trudy. Like, Natalie's like, we have to go see.
Yeah, I was like, looked at you, I was like, what the heck? That's like messed up.
Right?
He's like, yeah, and I said, what if that's something traumatic? Which it was.
Yeah. Which, again, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't that big of a deal, so it didn't stand out as Natalie being like, yeah, let's go see it. I'm just saying, you have no clue what it is, and you're like, yeah, we have to go see for your own fun and amusement. I don't know. Yep. But I'm done with dislikes.
I should have been plot hole. My bad. He's the guy. Kandyce.
You want me to take it away?
Take it away.
All right. Okay, first we have C.S. Lee, who is the guard that's sitting next to... He's the Asian man that's sitting next to Rollins when they're in the van. Mm-hmm. He actually played kind of a... not a big role, but he was noticeable, I thought. He was on Fresh Off the Boat, which I've talked about recently, so I won't talk about it again. But he was on there for 2 episodes, which is where I recognized him from. But he was also in an episode of 24 Legacy and The Rookie. Mm-hmm. So I jotted that down. And then apparently he's most well known for the TV show Dexter. And he plays Vince, if anybody out there watches Dexter, which is apparently... Do you know what Dexter is?
I do. This Dexter, that one?
Yeah, the guy who's like a serial killer and he helps like investigate the serial killers or something.
I guess.
Like he helps investigate the murders.
Never seen it.
It's a very weird premise. I've heard people really are super into that show or like, no, don't watch that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's just because they know me personally, but apparently he was on there from 2006 to 2013 and was on there for 95 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's Vince. Definitely Vince from Dexter.
Yeah.
So that's him.
I know my dad watches Dexter, so I'll ask my dad.
Yeah.
Do you know who Vince is?
Yeah. He was on an episode of Monk. And then we have Scott Glenn, which I will admit, I don't know him from anything, but apparently he's pretty famous, and I've seen this in the Monk groups where they talk about the fact that Scott Glenn was in Silence of the Lambs with Ted Levine. So I figured it was worth mentioning that, even though I don't recognize...
Have we talked about that?
I think we have. Q is the one that mentioned. He was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think Captain Stottlemyre was in Silence of the Lambs. And I was like, you are correct, but I've never mentioned it because I've never seen it. But again, he was a bad guy, and so everyone talks about how he was such a bad guy in Silence of the Lambs.
Wait, who was he?
So he's like a psychopath.
He's the psychopath?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what people are like. Some people are like, yeah, it took me a while to get used to it. And some people are like, I never get used to seeing him that way as Captain Stottlemyre. I'm like, that's sad.
He's the guy who's like, hello, Clarice.
No.
That's Silence of the Lambs.
That's Hannibal Lecter. He's not Hannibal Lecter, though.
He's Hannibal Lecter's friend.
I've never seen it. All I know about it is that's literally all I know about it. Is that he's like a super...
I don't want to watch it.
I don't want to watch... No, I will never watch it now because I don't want to see Ted Levine like that.
Every time we see him, we're like, ew.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see him like that. No. But again, I had to mention it. And then I realized that Scott Glenn was in like a very like... Not generalized, but like very like similar projects. So he was in Daredevil, which is like Marvel, right? Mm-hmm. And then Sucker Punch. And then the Defenders, which were all kind of like superhero-y Marvel type stuff. I don't know. And then
I know the Defenders in Daredevil.
Okay. Then the Bourne Legacy and the Bourne Ultimatum with, what's his name? Matt Damon. Mm-hmm. Those were really popular movies. And then Vertical Limit, Training Day, Secretariat, and Freedom Riders. Those were all really big movies. I don't know if he was a main part in these movies, but these are some very famous movies. Mm-hmm. Especially Training Day. That's a really big movie. So I just thought I would mention that because he's in those.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I have one more person.
Oh,
and this is a good one, though. This is a good one.
Okay.
Wait for it. Okay, this is Carl T. Wright, who plays Monk's lawyer. Right? So can you picture that guy?
I can look a picture of him. Carl T. Wright. Ah.
Okay. All right. So with that, don't look him up.
I will.
Okay. So now you know what he looks like.
Uh-huh.
Okay, he's in the show Atypical. This guy is in a ton of stuff, okay? I only wrote down the shows that I've seen every episode of. Okay?
Jeez.
Atypical, How to Get Away with Murder, Jane the Virgin, Scandal, The Fosters, Pretty Little Liars, Malcolm in the Middle, Drew Carey, Frasier, Rules of Engagement, Parenthood, Will and Grace, and Gilmore Girls. Shout out Keiko. But, so he's in all these things, because I'm like, I recognize this guy so bad. Where is he from? So I start jotting down all these things that he's in. And I'm like, of course I've seen this guy because he's literally in every freaking show I've ever seen.
Uh-huh.
He's in another episode of Monk.
No.
Do you recognize him at all?
I have no... You were saying all those shows, and I was like, those shows are one show away from me being like, oh, like, I could be like, oh, I like this show because of this person's in it. And then be like, oh, Pretty Little Liars is kind of like this show.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 shows away from me. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, shows that I was close to watching.
Yeah.
Like, all of them.
But you don't recognize him from Monk.
No.
Okay.
Who is he?
He was in Little Monk. He is...
What?
Do you know who he is or no?
No.
He's Principal Thicket. Remember when we go back in time and the bully steals the money from the cupcake sale? He's the principal.
No.
That, gets the kids in trouble and all that. Yeah.
No. That's such an odd role.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
And then he plays Monk's lawyer. You know who wasn't Monk's lawyer? Garrett Price.
Yeah.
I guess he
good.
he needed a real needed a real principal for that. That's funny, huh? I liked that.
I like how, yeah.
I found that. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's not even like some side character. It's like literally someone from Monk's past playing someone in Monk's future. Dang!
That's good. That's trippy. I like that.
It is trippy.
Okay, let's get to plot holes. I'm excited.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, junk time.
Junk time! That was like 10 seconds of just... Okay. I'm excited, Kandyce.
All right, let's hear it, Noah. Okay, let me get a pork rind. But
oh, wait, yeah. Let me take my shot. A sprinkle. I also want some of your pork
nervous.
rinds.
Oh, it's like an actual curly
Here,
tail.
I'll take a little bit of this shot, and then you take the actual shot. Okay, I've half the shot, Kandyce.
I don't think these are any good.
Ew, oh no. You take that. Here, tell me when your mouth is not gross from that.
Oh, golly. Wait, so...
Sometimes those are just bad.
This would be one of those times.
Like, my dad's like, oh, you like the ones that you get at the store, right? And he's like, oh, I have these. And I'm like, ugh, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what? This is good. Oh, okay. Are you ready, Kandyce?
Mm-hmm.
Sprinkle shot. 3, 2, 1. How do you feel? Out of 10. I thought you were on a diet. My bad.
I have 10 sprinkles.
Out of 10 sprinkles, what would you rate?
All
I'm
10.
using the sprinkles as a mic. What would you rate it?
All 10 sprinkles. I mean, I can't really taste them, so...
Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't hurt the diet that bad.
Eh.
These are not good. I'm not going to stick another one of these in my mouth. Do you want to try?
Yeah, I have water.
I think they're just stale. I don't think the taste is that bad. I think they're just really stale or something.
It's not that bad.
Is there some expiration date on here? I see.
Oh, no.
So by November 9th, 2019. So there's like a year expired. Oops.
You could have checked that 5 seconds ago when I put it in my mouth.
You said it wasn't that bad.
A year old?
Almost a year old.
But like a month. That's still 11 months, Kandyce.
So technically they probably are a year old. They're just about a year expired.
They're over a year old.
All right.
You said you've had them there for a while.
Yeah.
Not
That's
like
a
2
while.
years.
It's a pretty good while.
I was in kindergarten a while ago. No.
We've had this dog for a while. Oh, I guess it's been about a year now. Oh yeah, it doesn't seem like that long. See, same thing. Pork rinds.
That's not the same thing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
they've been in
not.
the pantry for about a while. Oh, I guess it's been about a year. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you should have. It's still gross, no
Okay.
matter what.
All right. Okay, so let's hear it. What do you think happened?
Here's what happened. Monk didn't shoot the guy. It's not Sheriff Rawlings either, but it's some random third-party dude.
Nice.
That's what happened.
Okay.
And also at the end, or it might have been Sheriff. The thing at the end, Monk getting shot, by Stoddy, quote unquote shot, was all a ruse to make it seem like Monk had been shot, to make it look, to make everyone around him, because there's a bunch of people there, make everyone go, oh, I see how he could have been easily set up. Natalie is off scene shooting Monk. Monk has a bulletproof vest on, shoots Monk, and he falls. Stottlemyre doesn't shoot, and Monk is fine. So how it's going to go next week, whenever I watch the episode, they're going to be like, oh, Monk's going to get up, and he's going to be like, here's what happened. And he's going to explain it to everyone. Everyone's going to be like, whoa. Because they're going to be like, I see how someone could get set up because of this, and it's really easy. And the sheriff probably just misunderstood that Monk did that because it was so easy for him to be set up. Boom. I'm a genius. I really hope that's right.
Okay.
We're going to talk about this at Junk Time next week.
Okay, so I don't want to elaborate on anything. I'll just leave you at that. I'll just ask the question. So, just going through the people. So, do you think, and I know some of the answers already, but do you think Natalie is in on it?
On what?
On your plan. I'm just going through each person. Like, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Stottlemyre's in on it?
Stottlemyre's definitely in on it.
Do you think Randy's in on it?
Randy is okay. It's either Natalie or Randy who shot him. Okay. I think it's Randy, personally, because they wouldn't let Natalie have a gun. And Randy was asking, remember? And Stottlemyre was like, I'll tell you later.
He asked if he could go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom. And he was like, yeah, sure. Oh.
Okay.
I'm a genius. I swear, if it's wrong. It probably will be, but I don't know. I feel like that's a good speculation, in my opinion.
Okay.
Whew.
All right. My next question is, how do you make a smoothie?
Oh, geez, that's out of left field. We've been very serious this episode.
This episode has been very serious, so.
Yeah.
Let me help you. I put Natalie's ingredients. Okay. First, she puts in some weird, like, chocolate cocoa powder or something. You can see it's clumped at the bottom, but you can't tell what it is. So I put maybe cocoa powder. She puts a banana. She dumps some strawberries in there. Of course, some ice. Clumps some peanut butter. Nuts, a bunch of nuts. Coffee. Syrup. Honey. Milk. And more nuts.
Not that bad, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what I thought.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
Okay, so here's what I would have done. Boom. Cocoa powder. Boom. Nuts. Boom. Peanut butter. Boom. Something chocolatey. Chocolate almonds, chocolate bar, anything. Anything chocolatey. 2 bananas. Milk. Ice. Crush it all up. In your blender. Boom. That's a Noah shake. Spectacular.
See, and this, I don't know about the nuts. I've never put nuts into...
Me neither.
I've just put peanut butter.
Yeah.
And maybe crunchy if I don't have any smooth, but I don't really like to.
I like the crunchiness of the ice. Which is why I said put ice.
Oh, yeah. You definitely have to have ice, or else it's just like a blended drink. It's like chocolate milk. How you just stir it and it's just a drink. Yeah, I put... Like, I really make all different kinds, but I would say, like, the most popular is just, like you said, a banana, ice... strawberries, and then regular milk blends the best. But if you're like on a diet, you can do like almond milk, and it's like not too bad at all. And then sometimes if you want to add just like a punch of like flavor, you can do like a scoop of cocoa powder or some type of protein powder.
Yeah,
and it'll give it like more like substance and whatever. But I was gonna, for when this episode comes out, I'm gonna make my Starbucks drink that you make at home. Like the copycat Starbucks, because I always get a double chocolate chip frappuccino. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to show the people how to make that and put the recipe up for them.
Well, that's
because, we like to share our junk and stuff like that. So I figured I'd put that up. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that copycat Starbucks shake. And if I forget, just DM me.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
There was like a good 2 or 3 months where my dad, and my brother were obsessed with like shakes.
Yeah, sometimes you get phases like that, but they're fun memories always. Yeah.
It was good, yeah. And it was like every morning there'd be a shake for me, and I was like, yes. And those were the good old days. I wish we could tell when we were in the good old days before we left them. Quote Andy Bernard.
I think these are the good old days. You
Right
know, one day
now?
we're going to look
Oh
back
my
on our
God.
podcast and we're going to be like, that was so much fun. That feels like a lifetime ago. And then it will be. And then it will be sad.
Candace, we'll probably do another show. Ugh, we're such lame punks.
We are.
And in like a year, we'll be like, man, I missed the podcast. And we'll be like, okay, let's do The Office or something.
Or make some YouTube
Yeah.
channel collab or something. We'll do something fun for you people. Let us know what you want to see. Unless it's more Monk, we're all out of
We'll make a movie or something.
We'll make a movie. Okay, let's do our viewer's voice. Okay, so like I said, my plot hole section is jam-packed. So we actually had people coming at us with plot holes from this episode that I didn't even think about. So instead of doing it in the plot hole section, let's do it now. So we can add a little bit more to junk time. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do some viewers' voice plot holes. So would you like to read the one from Lindsay?
Oh, I can. Okay, so Lindsay says, in Mr. Monk and his biggest fan, Marcy says that she could smell Adrian from behind her door. But in this episode, the police dogs can't pick up any scent from sniffing his clothes. How is Marcy's nose stronger than police dogs that have been specially trained to do that kind of thing? Makes sense. But Marcy is a crazed psychopath. Like, no, you're right.
I thought that was really good.
That's
Remember
really
the
good.
Smell was, I think, what did she say? Head and Shoulders for men? Or something like that. Or Pantene for men.
Yeah.
Something like that. She can smell his shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, straight up, I can smell his shampoo. He's behind the door. And then the dogs can't get a scent. It's a pretty good one, Lindsay.
That's good.
I think that's pretty good. Marcy is crazy, but if she can smell that smell, the dogs would be able to smell that smell.
Yeah.
So
they can get... That's where you can get them on the plot holes. Small little remarks like that.
yeah.
Where they're like, man, I can smell you, but he doesn't have a scent.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's where you can get them.
That was a good catch, though. Okay, the next one is from William, who said, okay, he's talking about the possibilities of bail, right? So he has Natalie's parents,
who are super rich.
Super rich, Natalie's parents.
Oh my gosh.
And Trudy's parents.
Wait, Trudy's parents are rich?
Well, the dad, remember, he owns the game show. Like, that's his game show. So he's some, like, TV producer.
Oh my god.
So he has money, too. Yeah.
Oh my.
Because, so we have Natalie, who says she's going to sell her car. Stottlemyre is going to lease or, finance take a loan against his beach house? Or, no,
Like
not
a
beach house.
mortgage or something.
He said townhome or something.
I don't know how adult
How does he...
bills work.
Yeah, I don't either. TBH, I am a homeowner, but I don't know what refinancing is. I don't know what lending... That's what he says. He lending against his house. And I know what a mortgage is now, but
What is
I used
it?
to not. It's just your house payment.
What?
Like when you say, like, I pay rent, like you're paying rent to somebody. When you say you pay a mortgage, you're paying the bank because they technically own your house. So you're paying mortgage to them.
Guess what? Our bank doesn't own our house, as in my house. Because my father built our house. Because my father is a big, strong man. Strong with a K.
But yeah, so super rich assistant's parents, who would they really let Natalie sell her car instead of giving? Because don't they need $100,000?
Wait, why?
I mean, that's kind of a lot of money. You have to have 10% to put down for bail. So I wonder how much, like, Trudy's parents would be good for and Natalie's parents would be good for. I mean, Natalie's parents are filthy rich.
Yeah.
They're filthy
They could
rich.
pay the whole $1,000,000.
They could probably
Easy.
pay the whole $1 million, but it would just be, like, convincing your parents, like, look, my boss didn't kill this guy who killed his wife. And, yeah. I don't know, but thank you, William, for the thoughts.
And just, he has such a good reputation that why would they be like...
Well, thank you again for your viewer's voice, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll be in season 7 by the time you hear this, so go for it.
Honestly.
Plot holes.
Alright, Candace.
Do you have any plot holes at all?
I have no. I have two.
You have two?
plot holes.
I have
No, I have two. I have two.
You have two?
holes.
Oh, okay, cool. Will you still get in trouble if you're innocent if you break out of jail to prove your innocence? Right? So if I've been charged of murder, and that is the crime that I'm, quote, guilty or not guilty of, and then I break out of jail, and I say, look, this is why I didn't kill him. I'm innocent.
Do they say, but you still broke out of jail? Ooh.
Is that illegal to break out of jail?
I mean, yeah, but
I've never heard of anybody being convicted of.
They had like more.
You can. I've heard of resisting arrest, obviously, but I haven't heard of like prison break. Like you're guilty of prison break, or like what would that be called? I've never heard anybody be convicted of breaking out of prison. They just recatch them and then put them in jail. And they're like, okay, we got them this time for the same crimes. I've never heard them say like, whoa, and for escaping, we're going to tack on 10 more years. I've never heard that.
No, they do that.
I don't know about that.
Because because they take off time for good behavior. So for bad behavior, they would add more time.
Yeah, but if it was a crime, if you're in prison and you stab someone, you're going to get time. You're going to get added time because stabbing someone is illegal, but is breaking out of prison illegal?
Breaking out of prison is illegal, Kandyce. If I was Kandyce, if you went to jail and I tried to break you out, I would go to jail. Boom.
True.
And you would get extra time.
But you would be aiding and abetting, and you would be if you got somebody out, you'd be harboring a fugitive. You can't harbor yourself, and you can't aid and abet. You can't aid yourself either. I'm just saying, show me the charge. Officer, what are my charges? I tried to break out of jail, and I didn't commit the crime you're saying that I committed. So tell me what my charges are. Go ahead.
Yeah. Plus, if you're like, okay, you try to escape, 10 more years. Now you have 10 more years to think of your plan to get out again. No, like...
Yeah.
Just...
Okay, I think this one will be quick. The sheriff, he transports a prisoner? That's his job?
No.
I'm pretty sure they have...
very important for charging a criminal.
Like, yeah, he was in the courtroom whenever he was being charged, which may be okay. Mm-hmm. He was the one that, like, the arresting officer, maybe they got his testimony or something. But he was, like, sitting next to the lawyer, and I'm thinking, is that where he's supposed to be sitting? And then he's in the van transporting Monk. And I'm like, aren't you taking him to prison? And you're the sheriff of Angel, California? I don't think that he would be doing that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so my plot hole is that Monk isn't stupid. So when he saw, after he took the guy's keys, that the wheel was locked, he wouldn't have gotten to the car and started driving it and went, oh wait, this wheel is locked. And then went around a couple more times before he stopped the car.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I was thinking maybe it was just like, obviously it was supposed to be funny, but like how like OCD people have to like count. Like they have to like count, like I have to do this 3 times. Like I have to brush my teeth on this side 1, 2, 3 times, and then I have to do the other side. So like maybe he just thought like, like in his little insanity things where he's like, yeah, but how did it happen? And he's like, I don't know, Mr. Monk. Well, how did it happen? Like he tries to do the same thing and get a different result. Like he tries to get in the car and he's like, I know it's locked, but I gotta try. And then it goes in a circle and he's like, I gotta try. And he drives a circle and then he's like,
yeah,
okay, forget it. And then he runs out and then he shuts the door.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny,
like, he's like, hey, what are you doing? Get out of my truck. And it's like, and it just stops and he runs.
Yeah, so again, obviously it was supposed to be funny, but that's what I was just kind of picturing him having, one of those like psychotic moments where he's just like, I have to try. I have to try to keep trying until it doesn't work out. But yeah. Okay, Sheriff Rollins brought the orange juice tab from the house? What? Why would you do that? Like, why would you even take that off anyway? And then if you had it, why would you bring it to the crime scene? Like it was in your pocket and it fell out of your pocket? Like, is that what we're supposed to believe? That's how he found that? I didn't get that.
They could have totally been like, hey, Natalie, did you scratch this part off of, like, the sticker part off of the orange juice? She's like, no. And then he finds it at the scene. Which I guess that would have been better evidence than, hey, look, lid.
But also, if Monk put it together that he has the little lid, right? And Stottlemeyer's like, do you have any evidence? And he's like, no. Like, what about the DNA that he put his mouth on your orange juice?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
No, yeah. He's like, are there fingerprints on it? No, because that's where you put your mouth. Because apparently he drank it out of the carton.
Yeah, and Monk doesn't do that. And Natalie doesn't do that.
So it would have only been his. Oh my gosh.
Okay, that was a good one. All right?
That was good.
Okay.
There was 2 in that one, actually.
Yeah, there was 2.
So, Monk, whenever he's taking his mugshot, it's like a funny moment that he like turns and he fixes it whenever he's like facing it. He would have fixed it before he even took the photo, no? And while he was sideways taking the photo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a small detail, but like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense for him to go after he already took one photo, change it.
Oh yeah, I guess he just noticed it. What, in air quotes, like, oh, this is crooked. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your last one, right?
That was. Yeah.
Okay, I have one more then. Okay, Monk is OCD about his pocket, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then he's running and he stops at the campsite to get a what's it called? Like the sewing kit.
Thread.
The thread. Okay.
Why would he rip it?
He wasn't okay.
Yeah.
I said he's OCD about his pocket, but he's not OCD about throwing the red on the ground. He looks through it and he finds the red thread. And he's like, oh, not red. And he throws it on the ground. I'm like, okay, well, Monk doesn't throw things on the ground. Because he doesn't like litter or mess or trash or whatever.
Plus, he would have probably arranged it by color after the fact.
Yeah. So exactly. He's more organized than to just throw something on the ground. And then, this is just a continuity plot hole, but it's not really continuity. If you watch it, it's a full scene through. He's looking for the orange thread. He finds the red. He throws it on the ground. Then he's like, orange, I need orange. He picks it up. The needle is already threaded with orange.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as in, instead of like him finding the thread,
and
him
then putting
licking
it on.
and then threading the needle and then having to do it.
For some reason, it was already.
Who is sewing with orange, people?
Yeah.
You show me who's sewing with orange.
Monk?
And that's threading the needle. No.
Yeah, and then also the people with the guns, they don't shoot the prisoner in handcuffs with Angel County Prison on the back of his orange jumpsuit or whatever it said.
Yeah.
You wouldn't shoot the guy who's running through your campsite. Hell yeah, I shot him in the leg. I'm a hero. Now he gets to go back to jail, and I might have saved lives because of it. No, they just sit there and like, hey, yeah, let's call 911.
Yeah, like exactly. That's a good one because it wasn't like he was attacking them, but obviously he wasn't up to any good going through your stuff. He was obviously trying to steal something from you.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, he was on my like property. He was stealing my property, so I shot him, and he was wearing a prison uniform, so I knew he was up to no good. That's a good point. I like that. All right.
Next segment. How crazy was Monk this episode? I don't have any crazy moments.
What else is new? All right. Out of 10, what?
Out of 10 orange threads.
Oh, I put out of 10 mini sewing kits.
Aww.
We were on the same page.
We were.
Makes me want to have written another one. I was going to put out of 10 crooked mugshot signs, but I didn't even know how to word that. I was like, what is that called? Mugshot?
Yeah, for my thing, board? I put mugshot tag name thing.
Exactly. I could not figure out what I Googled it and still no clear answer. It's like, I guess those aren't a thing. Okay. Most people just said signs or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's share a list. It's funner that way.
Yay. Okay, I'll go first.
It's more funner.
So, Monk only watches Channel 10. I actually have that one. Oh, that's the only one I have. Because I wrote it down at the very beginning. I was like, yeah, I'll take good notes. And then I got too sucked in.
Okay, he walks away from the case. When Stottlemeyer's like, you may not want to see this. And he's like, all right. Walks away.
He won't kiss the floor. Which, I mean, he's not being literal, which is funny.
Kiss the floor. He's like, here's the thing. I can't do that. Okay, I put he straightens his mugshot sign.
He can't seem to put the fingerprint on the ink.
Yes. He ups the bail to an even million.
Yes. He looks for the sewing kit.
When he's running through the forest, he sees the sewage plant sign. It's pointing left. And then he runs to the left, and then time passes, and then he runs back away from it, and then runs the other way.
Dogs don't get any scent.
Yeah. And he touches every tree. And then, of course, the lamp behind Randy.
He comes back to shut the car door and turns off the lights.
And then the last one is messed up. Natalie's trying to...
Oh my god.
Natalie's trying to give him Mitch's uniform. He's like, oh, Natalie, I can't wear that. And she's like, oh, yes, you can, Mr. Monk. Mitch will want you to wear it. And he's like, oh, it's all dusty.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
I want you to wear it. No, it's too dusty.
Oh my gosh, it's messed up. Okay, out of 10 orange threads, what do you got?
I have 4 out of 10.
Out of 10 mini sewing kits, I'm going to go with 3 sewing kits. Because most of the stuff I think is just crazy in the sense that he's running away from the law and then doing these things like touching trees, touching a lamp, driving in circles.
The orange
thread. So, yeah, I mean, it's just more of like his OCD kind of like popping out whenever obviously he's under really, really high amount of stress.
Yeah.
And
all
so
pretty much stress related.
Yeah. And so it's not normal quirky, but it's like it is normal quirky, but he's under stress, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just gave him 3.
Yeah. Rate this episode. Kandyce, what would you rate this episode?
All right. The first official episode of our first official 2-parter was a success. I can't wait to watch next week. But as for this one, it was thrilling, full of action, and the emotions in this one were high and all over the place. For this one, I am going to go with 2 10s.
Okay. So, as you were saying that, I was literally putting up 1 and 0 because it deserves a 1 out of no. Because it's a 10. It's a 10. It so deserves a 10. And I completely agree with you because this was such a great episode, and all it makes me want to do is watch the next one, which I don't think a Monk episode has ever done. Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch the next one, but it's like leaving you in suspense, and it's exciting, and it's fun, and I want to watch more. And that great cliffhanger at the end. Oh, beautiful.
It was very good. I think some of the standout things was, again, I really like the episodes where the supporting cast kind of shines, and even regardless of like Natalie and Randy's moment where they're like making the smoothie in the blender, regardless of that, I feel like it showed a lot of teamwork in this episode.
Yeah,
it showed how much they care about Monk. And, like, those heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching moments.
The trust that they have, and, like... Ugh.
The trust, we'll sell our house, we'll sell our cars.
Yeah.
So
we know it
great.
Wasn't you, and...
Yeah, because, like I said, because, honestly, I really like episodes that have supporting people in it, making them shine. But this was a very Monk-centric episode.
Yeah.
It was basically all about Monk.
Yeah.
But those side characters managed to add to that anguish of the episode and the suspense in their own way. And then of course Monk was amazing and did all the things and
great
every
episode.
scene. Like I said before, every single scene. Amazing. Scene. All right, guys. That was part 1. I cannot wait for next week. I'm excited. And also, because we told you guys we record these in 2s. So this was our first one in some time where we have not watched them in 2s and recorded in 2s.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't even by design. It was just we were able to start up sports in school and stuff, thankfully. So it was like, oh, well, let's, when we see each other on Tuesday, we'll watch the episode. We'll watch 1, and then today we'll record 1. And that was the
it
first
screwed
time.
us over
It wasn't.
so hard.
It wasn't back to back because Noah was like, "Oh my gosh, let's watch the next one." And I was like, "No, remember we plan on doing that next week." And he's like, "No, the first 2-parter episode ever, and I have to wait a whole week." I was like,
yeah.
"Yep." But it's perfect. I love how. I mean, obviously, it's how it should have been done. You record one episode, give your thoughts on that one, and then we'll move on. So I think it worked out perfectly. But I'm excited, and yeah. And not excited about the pork rinds. They were expired. So
I can't believe you made me eat them. Ugh, I will never forgive you, Kandyce.
Oh my gosh. One time I gave Toby this like bag of cheese that was expired. Well, I didn't give him the bag, but I put some on his taco and then he ate it and was like disgusted with me. And I was like, what? He's like, when did this expire? And I looked at it and I was like, oh, yikes. He's like, you couldn't smell that? I could smell it when I bit into it. I was like, I really couldn't. My nose isn't that great, so I really couldn't smell the bad cheese.
I have a good nose.
And so, yeah.
On the nose rating, I would give my nose a 6 out of 10.
Mine's like a 3
Really?
out of 10. Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine having a stinky nose. Actually, you say my room smells, and I can't smell it, so...
Well, there's literally a fly flying around in here, so I feel like the fly agrees.
No, the fly's gone.
No, he just flew by 0.2 seconds ago. I just saw him.
Oh, bye, fly. I hope you
behind
find
that
your dad.
Elf reference.
Yeah, because I've people have made so many Elf references around me, and I've never seen it, but I just get Elf references now.
Yeah.
Because we were literally just talking about.
We're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it.
This we'll do a rating Elf episode. How crazy was Elf this movie?
Oh, that's gonna be pretty high. But yeah, can you believe Toby went to a football game without us?
Let's go.
He was in the studio.
He was in the studio while we were recording. I was like, "Can I go?"
And I was like, "Okay." And then so he left, and so now it's just up to us to fend for ourselves, per usual.
Toby and Tobias both went.
I know they are both there. That's messed up.
The Tobes.
The Tobes.
Tobe. Tobe 1 and Tobe 2.
Gosh.
Gosh.
All right, so let's go to the football game or go get something to eat. At least I'm starving.
You are?
Well, yeah, because my pork rinds were nasty.
I ate a ton before you.
You ate a ton of sprinkles.
Sure.
Noah was eating cottage cheese straight up, slurping it off his plate.
You're just talking because you want to make it longer.
Why would I want to do that?
Stop. My biggest insecurity is my love for cottage cheese. The fact that I'm very short, no. The fact that I love cottage cheese way too much bugs me.
What? That's
because I will eat cottage cheese with everything. Spaghetti, eggs, bacon, other foods, anything. It goes perfect. I implore you. I suggest call to action, if you will. Please.
Don't subscribe to our podcast. Get a bowl of cottage cheese.
Instead of subscribing to our podcast,
get a straw.
Get a straw. No, don't get a straw. That's actually gross. Ew, Kandyce. You're not a pro on cottage cheese eating like me. I beg my mom every time she goes to the store, get more cottage cheese because I eat it way too fast. You can put it on toast over your eggs. It tastes really good with eggs and bacon. Might have just add. And sausage. And chorizo. And put it on your pancakes if you want. No. On your ice cream. On your sprinkles. Okay, now we're getting into actual gross territory. But it's good. Oh, steak. Thank you. That's the end of the podcast. Go eat some cottage cheese. Bye, everyone. Bye. Kandyce, wait, do you have anything you want to say?
I do, just a little. I'm kind of that way with honey mustard. And I got as a graduation present, one of my friend's moms bought me a big giant bottle of honey mustard and put a label maker on it and said property of Kandyce on it. I was like, oh, because every time I'd go to her house, she would have these fancy dinners for us. And I would always ask for honey mustard. Because she would serve pork tenderloin and I'm like, what sauce do we eat with this? And there's no one's eating sauce with it. And I'm like, I must eat sauce. I'm like, do you have any honey mustard? And then one time I put it in the soup she made and stuff. And so she was she took notice. They just bought it at their house just for me.
That's such a good little present, though.
Yeah, it was a really good present.
That's cute.
Like the best I've ever gotten, so. All right, guys.
Wow.
We'll see you for part 2 next week here on the Junk Monk Podcast.
Podcast.
Film Noir. Podcast Noir.
I'm Max. What's his name? Max
Hudson?
Max Hudson.
Or Max Barton.
No.
Okay.
Max Barton. Both. Don't even get me started, Candace. Okay. Bye, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next week. And cliffhanger? Like, okay, ready? We're going to envision the scene, the cliffhanger we got. So you guys have to be cliffhanger too. Monk falls into the water dramatically as it cuts to black. Dun-na-na, dun-na-na, down. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Junk Monk Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so please give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, follow us at Junk Monk Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
If you want to know more about Kandyce, she's at Hardens and Hardhats on Instagram. And if you want to know more about me, Noah L., subscribe to my vlog, Noah Hernandez, on YouTube. Also, you can leave us a voicemail at 323-366-0477 with your questions, comments, or just to show us some love.
Don't forget to catch up on Monk with Amazon Prime Video, and of course, subscribe to our show.
You'll thank me later.